Hello, Lopes. I am CJ Williams, and I'll be providing an overview of the fundamental concepts of initiatives and referendums as outlined in the Arizona Constitution. During this video session, I'll provide definitions of initiative and referendum, explain the process of creating initiatives and referendums, draw a comparative analysis between initiatives and referendums, and thoroughly examine the advantages and disadvantages associated with each. Next, I'll explain how initiatives and referendums uphold the concept of direct democracy as described in the Arizona Constitution. Well, what is an initiative and what is a referendum? An initiative refers to a provision in the Arizona Constitution that gives and grants citizens the authority to propose new laws or modify the existing Constitution without involving the legislator. A referendum is a legislative proposal that, once approved by the legislator, is presented to citizens for their formal vote of approval or rejection. The most prevalent method of amending the Arizona Constitution is as follows. So, how are initiatives and referendums created? The Secretary of State generates petitions for initiatives. This document is compiled by the staff of the Joint Legislation Budget Committee for the purpose of conducting a physical review. The proponents have the option to submit a proposal bill to the Director of Legislation Council for evaluation, which serves as the overall assessment of the petition. Following an opportunity for input from all lawmakers, the Legislative Council then compiles an unbiased report that includes a description, background information, and potential consequences for these. Intended for public scrutiny of notification, the public brochure contains the analysis compiled by the Legislative Council, both the reason in favor and against, and the physical statement. Additionally, public meetings are conducted and revisions are posted. According to the Arizona Constitution, a certain number of valid signatures is required to get the support of candidates for governor and prior elections for statutes, which is 10% of the votes cast, and for the amendments, it is 15%. The referendum applications are filed on the Secretary of State form and must include the sponsor's name, or if at any organizations, its officers' names and titles, addresses, the intent to circulate and file a petition, a 200-word description of the measure's main provisions, and the full text. The Secretary then gives this petition formal serial numbers in numerical order. The Arizona Constitution requires 5% of all candidates' previous general election votes and signatures. A majority passed referendum cannot be repealed by the legislator. Amending or diverting referendums, money requires a 3/4 vote of each house of the legislature and must achieve its goals. Next, I'll talk about comparing and contrasting an initiative and a referendum. The purpose of Arizona Initiative device was to offer the people a means to bypass legislators that declined to enact measures supported by the majority of the voters. Simultaneously, the referendum was intended to contest the actions taken by the legislator, while the recall aimed to oust officials who were unresponsive to the desires of their citizens. The initiative process is inherently apolitical. Currently, the initiative process necessitates that organizer obtains prior approval from the Arizona Secretary of State in order to distribute a petition. Subsequently, they proceed to collect the necessary numbers of signatures from registered voters. Once the necessary number of voters is obtained, the issue is included in the upcoming general election ballot and is subject to be a vote upon where the simple majority vote will determine its fate. Some pros of the initiative. One advantage is that it empowers individuals to make decisions directly. Direct citizen participation enhances this response. Furthermore, it empowers the citizens to ensure that legislators are held responsible for their actions. One drawback is that it can result in the creation of poorly formulated legislation, as there are no prescribed criteria for the drafts of any eligible voter can propose one. The process does not require any knowledge. This results in a multiple of choices for voters, which might lead to less well-informed selections. Furthermore, it is a less complicated procedure for firms who have ample resources. Some pros of a referendum. It generates ideas formulated by professionals who adhere to the Constitution principles. It formulates policies and procedures that align with the prevailing consensus. It establishes distinct areas of discussion that bring together the interests of lawmakers and the public. One drawback is that it fosters fragmentation among communities. It prevents individuals from having complete authority over the topics that are put up. This political polarization also among lawmakers, it results in the stagnations of drafts, and it fails to be approved by the legislatures that can be brought behind by the popular vote. So how do initiatives and referendums support the idea of direct democracy as outlined in the Arizona Constitution? Well, direct democracy is a type of democracy in which citizens, rather than solely an elected legislator, makes decisions on policies and laws. Initiatives grant voters the direct authority to either adopt, modify, or express their disapproval towards legislation enacted by the legislator. It eliminates the need for an elected official to serve as an intermediary, thereby granting the public unrestricted access to the administration of the government. In referendums, the people possess the ultimate authority to determine the approval or rejection of a proposal, so demonstrating the principles of direct democracy. However, the initial stage of the referendum necessitates that legislators to approve the proposal by the majority vote before it is presented by the ballot or on the ballot. This concept exemplifies the representation of democracy. This here concludes my video. Thank you.